When the Count and Mikhail Fyodorovitch first met at the Imperial University in St. Petersburg in the fall of 1907, the two were tigers of a very different stripe. While the Count had been raised in a 20-room mansion with a staff of 14, Mikhail had been raised in a 2-room apartment with his mother. And while the Count was known in all the salons of the capital as one who could be counted on for his wit, intelligence, and charm, Mikhail was known hardly anywhere as one who preferred to read in his room rather than fritter away the evening on frivolous conversations. As such, the two young men hardly seemed fated for friendship. But fate would not have the reputation it has if it simply did what it seemed it would do. Sure enough, while Mikhail was prone to throw himself into a scrape at the slightest difference of opinion, regardless of the number or size of his opponents, it just so happened that Count Alexander Rostov was prone to leap to the defense of an outnumbered man regardless of how ill-conceived his cause. Thus, on the 4th day of their first year, the two students found themselves helping each other up off the ground as they wiped the dust from their knees and the blood from their lips. While the splendours that elude us in youth are likely to receive our casual contempt in adolescence and our measured consideration in adulthood, they forever hold us in their thrall. Thus, in the days that followed their meeting, the Count listened with as much amazement to Mikhail's impassioned expression of ideals as Mikhail did to the Count's descriptions of the city's salons. And within the year, they were sharing rented rooms above a cobbler's shop off Sredny Prospect. As the Count would later observe, it was fortuitous that they ended up above a cobbler, for no one in all of Russia could wear out a shoe like Mikhail Mindich. He could easily pace 20 miles in a 20-foot room. He could pace 30 miles in an opera box and 50 in a confessional. For simply put, pacing was Mishka's natural state. Say the Count secured them invitations to Platonov's for drinks, the Petrovskys for supper, and Princess Petrosian's for a dance. Mishka would invariably decline on the grounds that in the back of a bookshop he had just discovered a volume by someone named Flamenhesher that demanded to be read from beginning to end without delay. But once alone, having torn through the first 50 pages of Herr Flamenhescher's little monograph, Mikhail would leap to his feet and start pacing from corner to corner in order to voice his fervid agreement or furious dissent with the author's thesis, his style, or his use of punctuation. Such that, by the time the Count returned at 2 a.m, though Mishka had not advanced beyond the 50th page, he had worn out more shoe leather than a pilgrim on the road to St. Paul's. So, the storming of hotel suites and the wearing out of carpets was not particularly out of character for his old friend. But as Mishka had recently received a new appointment at their alma mater in St. Petersburg, the Count was surprised to have him appear so suddenly, and in such a state. After embracing, the two men climbed the 5 flights to the attic. Having been told what to expect, Mishka took in his friend's new circumstances without an expression of surprise. But he paused before the 3-legged bureau and tilted his head to give its base a second look. "The Essays of Montaigne?" "Yes," affirmed the Count. "I gather they didn't agree with you." "On the contrary, I found them to be the perfect height. But tell me, my friend, what brings you to Moscow?" "Nominally, Sasha, I am here to help plan the inaugural Congress of RAPP, which is to be held in June. But of greater consequence—" Here Mishka reached into a shoulder satchel and produced a bottle of wine with an image of 2 crossed keys embossed in the glass above the label. "I hope I am not too late." The Count took the bottle in hand. He ran his thumb over the surface of the insignia. Then he shook his head with the smile of the deeply moved. "No, Mishka. As always, you are right on time." Then he led his old friend through his jackets.